From the author of Spinsterella, the strange and unusual romance and spellbound, a darker shade of black comes the legendary Mad Matilda. Pick up the conclusions of the Spinsterella trilogy in paperback and e-readers this Halloween. I was watching the 6 o'clock news this morning, and they were talking about a proposal to take the statue of Christopher Columbus down that has been standing in Columbus Circle here in Manhattan for over 100 years. And this is what I talk about regarding a slippery slope as it relates to these statues and monuments all across America. First, we start with the Confederate statues by saying that they inspire racism, and then the circle draws outward to other statues that people deem offensive. And when it comes down to that, all this is about limiting people's freedom of speech and freedom of expression. Moreover, it's all about an attempt to try to erase American history and revise American history so that people will not be able to say that American history is steeped in racism and white supremacy. And all that is denying what America truly is, because all throughout American history you can find symbols of racism and white supremacy, and that's just what the country was founded on. There's nothing anybody can really do about these symbols, because that's what the country was based on. It was based on racism, it was based on white supremacy, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. Unfortunately, we have a small group of socially engineered soft males and soft females who are ashamed of American history and ashamed of where they came from, and what they want to do is be the nice guy and the nice girl and go out of their way to erase this history, to hide from their own heritage and their own history. So they believe if they get rid of the Confederate statues and other statues, they can hide from racism and white supremacy. And what they're doing is they are lying to themselves, denying American history, and now are going out of their way in a campaign to hide the evidence of the racism and white supremacy they have benefited from for centuries, and that their parents and grandparents have benefited from for centuries. So basically, this is just a bad case of nice guy syndrome on steroids, because when it comes down to the nice guy and the nice girl, they always want to hide all their bad traits, all their flaws, and all their character issues from people. And when they do that, what they do is they suppress who they truly are, and then when it all comes out, people see who the real racist and white supremacists are in the room, because the person who has something to hide is the person who is the most dangerous. The person who is out in the open, that's not the guy I need to worry about. The neo-Nazi, the skinhead, the Klansman, they're just telling us who they truly are. No, like I've said in previous videos, the most dangerous racist in the room is the one who's in the closet, the one who is hiding in the closet, and the one who is in the deepest denial about racism and white supremacy and how they benefit from those systems of racism and white supremacy that have been established in America since its inception. And to deny that the people haven't benefited from racism and white supremacy is to deny the country itself, because the only way you're going to get away from racism and white supremacy is to literally leave the planet, because everyone in some way, shape, or form has benefited from racism and white supremacy here in America, whatever race they be, because they benefit from that system. The only people who haven't really benefited from that system are heterosexual black men. When it comes down to heterosexual black men, they're the ones who have been denied the most opportunities here in America, and continue to still be denied opportunities here in America because they are heterosexual black males. They're the only ones who have not really benefited from the system of racism and white supremacy. Now, people will sit there and they'll talk about, we need to get rid of these statues, when we can again see how racist they actually are. All you have to do is let a heterosexual black man come into the room, and then you will see how racist these liberals, like these social justice warriors, truly are. Because we notice in all their pictures of inclusion, You see everyone of every race. You'll see a lot of white women, a lot of beta white males, Hispanics or Asians. But there's one person you won't see in that picture. In that picture, you won't see a heterosexual black male. Again, showing us all that these people aren't the nice guys that they say they are, and they're not really about including people and about real diversity. So when I look again at this campaign to remove these statues, all I see is a country headed down a slippery slope down the road towards fascism and communism, because to start with the Confederate statues and then go to Christopher Columbus shows me how we're on that slippery slope and how deeply in denial many Americans are about racism and white supremacy here in America. Because if you start with the Confederate statues, then and Christopher Columbus, guess what you're going to have to get rid of next? That means you can't listen to any more Elvis music because Elvis was a racist. And it also means that you can't watch John Wayne movies because John Wayne was a racist. And it means you can't drive a Ford car because Henry Ford was a racist and a white supremacist too. And it means you can't watch Walt Disney movies because Disney was a racist and a white supremacist. And he had a deep hatred and disdain for Jews. So many American products that we all live with and use every day, that means many of us can't use any of those products because many of those people that who created those products were racist and white supremacists. So that means we can't use any of those products either. And you can't watch movies by guys like Mel Gibson and many others because, yeah, they were racist too. So this is how slippery the slope people are on. But because they're so deeply in denial about racism and white supremacy in America here, they can't understand the slippery slope that they're on. And when you try to take away one symbol of racism, you don't see the hundreds and thousands of others that are here in America, because America was founded on racism and white supremacy. It is deeply ingrained in the culture of America, in things like the Monroe Doctrine and the Manifest Destiny, and it's deeply ingrained in all throughout the culture of America. And to deny one part is to deny the entire country, and you can't change the country by erasing its history. The only way you can deal with this issue of race and white supremacy here in America is by accepting that America is a racist country. America is a white supremacist country. It was founded on racism. It was founded on white supremacy. And there's nothing anybody can do about it except focus on building a better future. And you can't build a better future by tearing down the past. You need the past in order to learn to have a better future. That's why I say that these Confederate statues need to stay right where they are, because they allow us to teach people of future generations about their history and all their history, not just the parts people want to like. Because history is not about just the good parts, which is people inventing things and creating things. It is also about dealing with the parts we don't like, which is the racism, which is the white supremacy, and dealing with things that we do not enjoy hearing or seeing about. In order for us to get a clear picture of all of history, we have to accept the good and the bad. And this is something that many nice guys and nice girls or beta males don't want to deal with, because they believe if they have to deal with the bad, people will see them as bad. And that's not the case at all. It just means that there have been bad things that are a part of history, and we have to accept those bad things along with the good. And that's just part of life. Part of life is that there is good, and part of it is bad. And if you look at your Bible, there was only one person who was without sin, and that was the Son of the living God, Jesus Christ. And even when he had an adulteress presented to him, the first thing he said was, after he wrote on the ground, was, "He who was without sin cast the first stone." And he was the only person who was without sin, and he didn't cast any stones at people for doing wrong. So why should we go out of our way to try to take down statues that were erected of people if the Son of God himself is not casting any stones at anyone? He understood that all of us were born in sin, all of us were shaped in iniquity, and he went to sacrifice his life so to pay for all of our sin debts in full. So if he's not judging us, why are we judging ourselves by an unrealistic standard, by going out of our way to take down statues of people who we deem racist, if Christ himself has already paid for our sin in full, and what we need to do is just try to go on and try to live the best life possible. As I see it, this whole campaign to try to take down statues, again, is just nice guy syndrome on steroids, and people trying to deny who they are, what they are, and denial is a very dangerous thing, because people who deny parts of themselves, eventually they wind up exploding in rage, because they wind up suppressing that part of themselves. And when you suppress a part of yourself, you're not being who you truly are. You can't erase history and then hope to revise it, because what has happened has happened, and there's nothing you can do about it but accept it. I've accepted way back in my childhood that America is a racist and white supremacist country, and yet I still try to persevere to be the best person I can be, because all I know is that as a follower of God, I have to try to be the best example possible, because in order for me to have a strong relationship with Christ, I have to try to be an example of Christ to others and not focus on the past, because in order to be that example of Christ, I have to keep focused on the future, and the future is the kingdom as I see it, and the future of America is about us focusing on being the best people we can possibly be, learning from those who have made mistakes in the past towards building towards a better future. If you'd like to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon by clicking the link in the description box. And if you'd like to try some of my SJS Direct publications, you may do so by clicking the link in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.